what's up? This is Maeve Maiden. I am hoping that you will hang out with me today. I'm doing a little video about one of my very favorite shows ever made of all time, really. To me, it's just fantastic. The writing, the character development, everything. So hopefully you'll hang out with me. Today I am talking about a show you may not have seen or heard of. It's an older show from the early 2000s. And it is 6 Feet Under. So 6 Feet Under was created by Alan Ball. And you may know Alan Ball from American Beauty. He was the director of that movie, I think. And he won, I think, Best Screenplay the writer. He was the writer. And that's one of my favorite movies. So that movie's in my top 10. And 6 Feet Under is in like my top 10 of all time. Like, I think it would be Game of Thrones, 6 Feet Under, and I thought, Sopranos. Okay, Sopranos, Game of Thrones, 6 Feet Under have been my favorite series. There's a few other ones I would throw in there, but I'll do some other videos on those. Anyway, so this is going to be very off the cuff, okay, because I don't have any high-tech camera equipment or anything like that. But, I just thought I would do a hang tonight with Maeve talking about one of my favorite shows, and maybe it will be of interest to you. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely should give it a watch, because I'm going to tell you honestly, whenever I go to try to find something to watch, like on Netflix or, any platform, I check a lot of the reviews before I watch it, and most of the time they fall short of my expectations. Even if it's fairly good, it's not all that great to me. I don't walk away from it like, whoa, that was so great and life-changing. 6 Feet Under, however, is quite different from that, and I just can't say enough good things about it. So let me go ahead and stop rambling. I do that a lot, so hopefully you don't mind, and you can hang out with me and get something from the video. So 6 Feet Under began in June. I think it aired in June of 2001 on HBO, and it ran through 2005, August of 2005. So, and when it came out, I believe, I had, my son was born in 2004, so it was like right around a time when I was watching a little bit more TV, and I ended up always watching it. I wasn't able to watch it when it aired because I didn't have HBO back then. I don't have it now, but it was just something I didn't invest in or couldn't afford or whatever. So I always ended up having to catch it after it always aired. But I remember when there was like one season, and this video will include spoilers, so I don't know. It's an old show, so you probably have already heard about it or even seen it, so it doesn't really matter. But if you plan on watching it and you've never seen it, I am going to probably throw out some spoilers, so go ahead and say that ahead of time. There was a season where one of the main characters, Nate, actually dies, or we as the viewers think he's gone, he's dead. And that's how that season ends. And it made news. I think I wasn't caught up at that time, or maybe I hadn't even started watching it. And I was like, what is this show everyone keeps talking about? So anyway, I gave it a shot. I started watching it, and I was hooked. Like I said, the character development is amazing. The spirituality, the discussions of afterlife, everything. It's just a brilliant show. So to give you a quick, or not so quick, synopsis of the show, it follows the Fisher family. They are a family of Ruth and Nathaniel Fisher. They have 3 grown kids. Sorry, my nose ring is slipping off of my nose, so my apologies. But, so they've got Nathaniel and Ruth. Now, Nathaniel Fisher is played by, oh gosh, what is his name? Oh, it's not even in the Hold on a second. That's a Richard. What's his name? Richard. Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, Ruth is Frances Conroy, and you know Frances Conroy if you watch American Horror Story. She is, okay. She's on the Witches season. She's on almost all the seasons, and she's the one. Okay, so like I said, this is gonna be off the cuff. So if you watched American Horror Story and you watched Murder House, she's the old maid on that one series, so or that one season. So there's the young hot maid, and then there's the older maid, and she has like a weird eye, I think, or two different colored eyes or weird eye. Anyway, she's that one. And then she's on, The Witches, where she has the orange hair. I mean, she is a fantastic actress. I don't even know how to talk about her enough. I could do a whole video on her. She's amazing. She was the mom in Joker. I mean, she's just really good. So Frances Conroy, she plays Ruth Fisher, and she is, oh my gosh, she's just so kooky and weird, and her character is so awkward, like as the mother of this family that works that owns a funeral home. So anyway, I've already started going on about the freaking Frances Conroy, Ruth Fisher. Okay, so you have Ruth, you have Nathaniel, he's the father. Now Nathaniel is the owner of the funeral home, and he's the father of the family, and he is played by, okay, I'm gonna have to do this because I don't want to keep, I have already started recording this video and rewatching it so many times. Richard Jenkins. Okay, Richard Jenkins. You know him from Step Brothers, among other things, but Step Brothers is one of my all-time favorite movies, and he's amazing. Of course, he's the dad in Step Brothers. So this show, let me also say that the show is a mix of dark or black comedy and also drama. There's relationship stuff. You're dealing with death. I mean, it covers pretty much all aspects of life, and that's why I love it so much. Okay, so we also have, Joanna Cassidy plays Margaret Chenoweth. I haven't seen her in very many other roles, but she plays Brenda in this, and she is actually an Australian actress, and her accent is totally American, English, American, whatever, in this series. So it's kind of cool to hear her talk in her, native dialect, I guess, or whatever you call it, accent. It's just interesting because she's not actually American, but in this series she plays an American woman, and she plays a love interest of Nate Fisher, who is one of the sons. So he's played by Peter Krause, and I think he was on Parents. He hasn't been in too many other shows either. I mean, he's just always been Nate Fisher to me. Every time I see him in another show or something, I'm like, oh, it's Nate Fisher. So, but he's like so he's the oldest son, and he's kind of like working as a manager at like a Whole Foods type grocery store. They're, all into like organic foods and recycling grocery bags, and he's trying to live a very holistic type of and fitness friendly lifestyle. And you'll see him a lot on the show. He's like always jogging or into his fitness and stuff. And that kind of sums him up, I guess. He's the oldest one. There's a lot that goes on with him and Brenda and their whole dynamic of their relationship. It's just crazy. I could go on and on about that too, which I probably will. So hopefully you don't mind hanging out. And then the second child is David Fisher. So David Fisher, oh my God, he's so much fun to watch. So this is Michael C. Hall, and he played Dexter. So he was the main character on Dexter. And it's so weird. I never watched Dexter. I think I might have watched like 2 or 3 episodes. It just wasn't for me. And don't get me wrong, I love true crime, and I did the whole for years I read about serial killers, and it was a big interest of mine. But since my life is kind of become more about spirituality and things, I don't have as much interest in Dexter, even though that show is, and it could be considered somewhat spiritual, I guess, from what I've heard. I mean, like I said, I haven't really watched it. It just wasn't for me, but maybe I'll revisit it because Michael C. Hall is amazing. And he is so he's the gay son, but he's in the closet at the beginning of the show. So, and let me preface this by saying this was back in 2001. So times were pretty different. I mean, this show was pretty groundbreaking because we'll see, you know, if you've watched the show or you know where I'm going with this, he is a gay funeral director who's involved with a black cop. Like, that's his relationship when we meet him. So it was pretty groundbreaking. And I mean, if you are familiar with HBO shows, they don't put too much to the imagination. I mean, there's a lot of making out and, you know, crazy sex scenes and stuff like that. So anyway, I mean, I'm talking like threesomes. They go to gay bars. It's hilarious and fun, and it's just another reason why I love the show. So, and then we have Lauren Ambrose, who plays Claire Fisher. So she's the youngest child, and I think she's like in high school, and she is just so pretentious, and she's very eccentric. I mean, I would love to know the astrology of all of these people in their zodiac, because she's got to be an Aquarius or something. But anyway, I'll do another video on that. I've already gotten some things written about that. So, but she's just very, like, okay, when we meet her, she is at a, let's just call it a trap house, you know, a squat. And she's, now mind you, this is back in 2000, so a lot of the scenes, music, clothing, technology, it's outdated. So you got to keep that in mind. Like now when I watch Sopranos, you know, it's like certain things, it's like, oh gosh, come on, you know, that's so outdated. Like some of the social themes and stuff are very outdated, but you have to, you know, just keep in mind and remember. Think My So-Called Life, because I think it was around the same time. If My So-Called Life might have been a couple years earlier than this show. Actually, she was on My So-Called Life, come to think of it. Okay, anyway, I digress. Okay, and then we have, so what I was going to mention about this show and why I think it's pretty amazing and cool, not only because Alan Ball, the creator, he's just a brilliant mind, and what he's done with this series and you know, everything, all his vision is just very remarkable to me. But since I've done some research before doing this video, the writers are all of different makeup. You know, you have women, men, different ethnicities, different cultures. So they bring all of that to the table. It's not just about a white family from California that has a funeral home. You know, there's a lot of different elements. And one of those elements that also comes in is I think is he Puerto Rican? Anyway, they have a gentleman that works for them named Federico Diaz, and that's played by Freddie Rodriguez. And I've seen him on some other stuff too, but he's pretty good as Federico. And then I already talked about Brenda. So then David's love interest is played by Matthew St. Patrick, and and he is Keith Charles. So his name is Keith on the show. And like I said, he's a cop, and it's just pretty cool, the whole way that they introduce him. Like, it's funny, like I've got to tell this one scene, like they show up, okay, so, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's just so good. You just have, if you watch the first episode, you will see the dynamics of everybody involved and know that this is going to be a wild ride and a crazy show, because they're introducing all the characters. It's Christmas. It's actually, I think, Christmas Eve or Christmas. Yeah, Christmas Eve. So Nate is flying in from Seattle. So he lives, all I can say is granola, Birkenstock wearing, from Seattle, Nate. And he is needing to be picked up from the airport. So Nate, Nathaniel, the father, Richard Jenkins, is driving to go pick him up. And he's driving in the hearse, the family hearse. And next thing you know, he's hit by a bus. So Richard Jenkins dies in the first episode. I think that's the pilot. Or it might be the first episode. But so he gets hit by a bus. So then we're just like, okay, wait, a main character's dead. So it's a lot like Game of Thrones in that way, that they just kill off, well, they don't really kill off people, but not main characters. But it starts with a death, and it's a major one. And so Ruth, she gets the phone call that he has been hit by a bus, and someone needs to go collect him from the morgue, the hospital. So this all happens on the first episode. Nate is waiting at the airport for someone to pick him up. Claire, okay, so again, when I was saying Claire is in a trap house, basically, and she's just been introduced to crystal meth for the first time. And the guy who she's hanging out with is like a, guy, I guess, that wants to date her or something. And she's like, so I really don't want to be smoking crack because, I just really don't want to do crack. And he's like, oh, it's not crack, it's crystal meth, don't worry. And he's like, it'll just make everything burn a little bit brighter. And okay, so she does this, and it's her first time ever doing crystal meth. And the thing that's so cool and funny, I'm sorry about keep messing with my nose, but she's doing crystal meth. The show goes through a lot of different drug use and stuff. It's great. It's amazing. So she's doing crystal meth, and she gets a phone call too. So they show everybody getting the phone call of their father. Nathaniel, he's just gotten off the plane, and he meets Brenda, and Brenda's like, hey, it was really nice talking to you. Where are you about to go? And he's like, oh, I gotta go, see my family at Christmas, whatever. And he talks about how neurotic his family is, and he's like, but they're all in all pretty normal. And Brenda says, yeah, well, my family's definitely not normal. My parents are both psychiatrists or something, and we're all whacked, or we're all wacky. And she's like, I wish, I didn't have to go hang out with them. And he says something like, oh, I think they're late picking me up. I don't know how I'm going to get home. And she goes, oh, well, I'll give you a ride. And he's like, oh, that would be great. And she goes, I'm not talking about that kind of ride. And I mean, this is so cheesy, you guys, but so they go into a closet somewhere and do it. And that's, you're just like, what the hell? He just met this chick. But that's the show. Like I said, it's a wild ride. And so he's banging this chick he just met. David is the only one that's doing anything responsible. Oh, well, I guess Ruth, she's like making a turkey or something, basting a turkey. And David is actually holding a funeral when he gets the phone call. And he's being responsible, upholding the funeral home. And he starts freaking out. And so this is how this show begins. It's just completely outrageous. You're just like, what the hell's going on here? This is a crazy family, and this crazy thing, the father's dead, and it's Christmas, and he's banging this woman he just met, and she's doing crystal meth, and so much going on. So, so then what ends up happening is, I'm trying to position this so it's not so annoying to me. But, so she's doing crystal meth. I'm getting back to Claire because I just keep thinking about this scene, and she's just like, she gets off the phone. She's like, like clearly jittery and everything. And they're like, yeah, you got it. I think David calls her like, yeah, I need you to come home. Like something's happened. Like it's really bad. Dad's, been killed or something. And she just gets off the phone and she goes, yeah. And she starts like nervously laughing like, hey, yeah, I gotta go. And everybody's just like, whatever, everybody's whacked out on drugs. And she's like, yeah, so, I mean, my dad is dead. And starts laughing. And then she's like, yeah, thanks a lot for the freaking crystal meth. Now this whole experience, this whole hellish nightmare experience is going to burn a little brighter, right? And you're just like, oh my God, what kind of horrible, horrendous experience that would be. I mean, that's where I'm talking about the dark comedy, because it's like, the last thing you would be doing if your father's been killed by a bus is laugh, but it's in some instances like a natural thing that happens when you just don't know. Your brain, like, you're in shock, like your brain just, so they do that a lot on this show, where it's like very what do you call it, abnormal, not unnormal, abnormal responses to death a lot on this show, where you're like, oh my God, they're gonna freak out, or they're gonna cry, like expect the unexpected with the show. That's all I'm gonna say about that. So, when I was talking about the cast, so the show also has Kathy Bates appears on it. She's not on, every season, but she does appear on it, and Patricia Davies Clarkson. Now these two, phenomenal. I mean, Patricia Davies Clarkson, let me see, who does she play? She's Sarah O'Connor. Okay, so she's Ruth's sister. And I didn't get into Ruth yet, but, Ruth, she's very homely looking. She's got, like, her hair is always like in a braid, or, she looks like she might have been a hippie back in the 60s, but now she's very domesticated. I mean, she's always wearing an apron. She's always asking anybody if they want a sandwich, and, can she cook something for them? I mean, she's just very homely, domesticated, boring, but she's also very neurotic. I mean, cleaning constantly. The way she talks, she's very unsure of herself and timid, and, you just never know what to expect with her. She's like a, what do you call that? A loose cannon? Like you just think at any moment she's just gonna explode, because she's trying to be so nice and calm and cautious all the time. Anyway, she's probably a Virgo. And so, and then the other one who's really, really good. Okay, I gotta find her. Who is she? Bernard. Okay, Joanna Cassidy. Okay, this woman she's probably my favorite character. She plays Margaret Chenoweth. Okay, Brenda Chenoweth is the one I was talking about, Brenda, who was banging Nate in the bathroom at the airport. So, her character's just great. I can't say enough about her. And then you have Brenda. So Brenda's got, that's the thing. They follow this family. You've got the daughter who's out of control, doing crazy drugs. The father's now dead. You have the homosexual brother who's a funeral director. You have the hippie, granola, Whole Foods type guy who's, the brother. And then you have this neurotic, crazy mom. And then on Brenda's side, so they, you follow Brenda, and her parents live in like this modern, like glass looking like mansion type house. And, everything looks very pristine, but very, how do you want to say it? Like, there's no character. It's just, I don't know, I thought somebody was coming in here. Yeah, so, and then you have, so Brenda's parents are Margaret and Bernard Chenoweth. And so they're both psychiatrists. And then Brenda goes into talking about her bipolar, or I think they call him manic depressive on the show, bipolar. In my opinion, they're almost the same thing, but, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can't say that. But he's played by Jeremy Sisto, and I can't really say what he's been in right now, but he's amazing. Billy Chenoweth. So his character's really great too. I mean, he plays that character phenomenally. It's just so good. So And then you have all these other dynamic characters. I mean, you've got, so just imagine this. So I've kind of set it up. Okay, so it's a family, they have a funeral home, and the show, so each episode starts with a death, and that's how it goes throughout all the seasons. I think the only season that doesn't have a death is like the last season, like the second to the last episode, something like that. But every episode has a death at the beginning, and they're usually very